5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hello and welcome to Truth, Beer, and Podsequences. So this is the podcast where my co-host and I listen to and then give our version of the truth of all the Cincinnati-based podcasts, craft beer podcasts from the previous week. Now we get together at our podcast host, and today, no surprise, back again here at Higher Gravity Summit Park. Thank you, Higher Gravity Summit Park, for being a fantastic podcast host. Let's see. Hopefully, there aren't too many consequences from the host of the other podcast, and so far, so good. My name is Marco. I'm a taproom manager here locally, and I am about to introduce the person responsible for that sick fade into the show and the best co-host in Podcastlandia.
I am Julia. I drink all the craft beers in the greater Cincinnati area, and today I am carrying so much bad luck with me for... I don't know what I did to the universe, but I'm sorry for whatever I did. But man, oh man, hopefully we get through the show without any incidents. But if something happens, just know it's all my fault. Then that's all that
everything's fine.
It's fine. It's wonderful. And
everything is awesome.
It's giving me some amazing belly laughs. So you know what? There you go.
It's good.
This would not be a good craft beer podcast if we weren't drinking good craft beer.
That's right.
So,
we're not like those fake-ass craft beer podcasts that don't really drink beer.
We're just drinking it.
Yeah, really, we tell you we're drinking, not really drinking. No,
don't buy it. We don't buy it. We know
drink.
the truth. Yes. So, Marco, what is in your glass tonight?
I had this last week. I remember it was new on the board. Mm-hmm. Sierra Nevada's Pale Ale.
Hell yeah. Nice choice. Good, solid. They've been around for a couple weeks now, so I think...
On the board,
yeah. I think they might have a place in the Cincinnati beer scene.
It might
They're
be
not
a thing.
Cincinnati brewery, but I think they're going to be sticking around.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
What you got, Julia?
I am drinking a beer from Aslin. I actually had a taster of this on Sunday when you and I were both up here. I'm just going to say that we were up here. That's all.
Right.
This is called Orange Starfish. It's a hazy IPA, 5.7%, and it is incredibly good. And it's actually not all that hazy. Like, I can see the park through my glass.
It's more like a chill haze than a Hazebro haze.
Hazebro haze, yes. But it is...
Do you even Hazebro?
They definitely do not Hazebro.
No.
It's good. It's refreshing. It's pretty crisp. I'm really enjoying it.
And thank you, all of you listeners, those who have been around a long time and those who are new to the pod. Thank you for your listenership. If you like what you hear, we'll tell you all about how to support the pod at the end of the show. Mm-hmm. If you're new and you're like, I'm not really sure, stick around, listen to a few episodes, and I'm sure you'll get it. You'll latch onto it. And then if you don't, at least we'll get the clicks for the few times that you listen, which is really awesome as well. And thank you to all of you.
Counts.
Yes, and thank you to all of you for making us the number one podcast that talks about Cincinnati-based craft beer podcast. Thank you. We are number one.
We have been number one for quite a while, and it is amazing.
Amazing.
Well, let's continue that streak, and let's keep on giving great content so we can stay number one. This is episode 79 of Truth Beer Pod.
Yeah.
There were a decent number of Cincinnati-based and beyond craft beer podcasts. That and beyond is going to be fun when we get to it.
Yes.
Let's see if we're on the same page here. Mm-hmm. We had Sonder Brewing. Their new episode came out, Sonder Stories.
Yep.
All right. We had Cincy Brewcast, which was basically just a copy and paste of Sonder Stories.
Yep.
All right, but we'll get to both of those. Craft Parenting Podcast.
I listened.
Awesome. Shift Beers is back.
Yep.
All right. And we both want to acknowledge that What You Into with Anthony Tank Mansfield put out an part 4 of his 6-part series with High Grain. We didn't get a chance to get to it, just life and stuff. So we're going to cover that episode as well as I'm sure episode 5 will be out next week.
Right.
So, but we do want to acknowledge that it was out. I'm sure it's a great episode, just like all the other ones have been. But we'll talk about that one next week. But we have a national podcast that talked about Cincinnati craft beer.
I mean, technically all of them are national, but this one's a big one.
Yes.
This one's been around for, I think, 10 years or more.
This was episode 559. So, yeah, they've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the most recent episode of the Beerists podcast, where they drank 4 Cincinnati brewery beers.
Yep.
Which They're drinking Cincinnati beer. That fits into our wheelhouse. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that one. Do you have a preference for which one we get started with?
We could spin the wheel.
Ooh, we could spin the wheel. All right, let's.
We have enough to where we could.
We could actually spin the wheel.
wheel.
This is true. I mean, 5 podcasts to cover in one episode. This is going to be like a 5-hour-long podcast.
Woo.
Sorry, guys. We'll see what we can do in editing to chop that down. But
Yep.
yeah, let's spin this thing. All right. I'm glad that I remembered to switch out the different breweries for Brewery of the Week.
Yeah.
To
to the
podcast. Yeah, I mean, normally I'm not that on the ball, but this
You're on the ball. It's great.
I got it.
Did you see it?
I did see it. I did
See
see
it?
it. Yes, Sonder stories.
There we go.
So this is chapter 99, where they talk about the Sonder Taphaus and kitchen, which I am really excited.
99.
Yeah, big numbers. We're only 20 away from that number.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's true. They take a lot of breaks. That's part of it.
Yes.
Took some hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
Did
Which is
you
fine.
watch on YouTube or did you listen on a podcatcher?
I listened on my podcatcher. I am going to watch the video. I just didn't get a chance to watch and listen, but I am going to give them all of my views, all of my clicks, because I do like what they're doing. Every episode that they put out, starting with last episode, episode 99, they're also recording. So it's
99.
on YouTube, as well as the audio only is on your podcatcher. I will say that the "What are you listening to?" segment does appear to be cut out of the videos, probably just copyright reasons,
Right.
which is perfectly fine. So if you're interested in that, listen to it on your podcatcher or watch the video and then download the episode on your podcatcher and jump to the last 37 minutes. Would you say?
I'd say
is
30,
about there.
38 minutes.
38 minutes. Yeah, and they're good, and that way you'll get the entire experience.
Right.
You get to see them, hear them, but also get to know what they are listening to this
Yeah.
week. This was a full house on this episode. It was Jen, Chase, Haley, Justin, Chad, and Danny.
Woo.
And they were talking about their soon-to-be-open second location in Westchester, which is going to be located inside the Bass Pro Shop, that they're also opening in that same location.
Exciting.
And I got to say it, it's, air quotes for those not watching the live stream, closer to downtown.
Yeah.
What the F?
Yeah, I know. I
seriously?
heard Chase say that, and I was like,
Really? And they did say
Not
that
exactly.
the new location is, I think, 16 minutes from their current location, from the main location, but it is no closer to downtown.
No.
In my coming from the west side, coming from southwest-ish of downtown, no. They're like, oh yeah, it's so much closer to downtown.
Not
And I'm
at
like,
all.
what are you guys talking about? What in the world?
downtown Westchester. What are you talking? No, it's and Saunders' current open location, the original location, right off of 71. This is. And when I say right off, they are close enough to where they can be on the road sign.
Right. Which
Yeah,
is
which-
a pretty big deal. roadside attractions, food off of this exit, gas off of this exit, Sonder Brewing off of this exit.
Right.
But it still is, once you get off of the Mason-Montgomery exit, you still have, depending on traffic, maybe almost 10 minutes to go to get there.
Well,
So
there's
it's not
a few
right.
stoplights
A few.
and a few
And a lot of traffic.
and a lot of traffic. Yeah, and actually, it's faster if you were doing 71 south from, say, the Kings Island,
If that's where
south
you live and that's where you're coming from,
Like-
work, whatever. Yeah,
but if you're going north, then
Right.
it's not exactly that way. But this location, though, you're
Literally
going to be
right
able
off
to
of 75.
right off of 75.
Yes, you'll
right
be
off.
able to see it. Like we said, it's right out. It's right in front of the Top Golf that's there. It's in between the Chewy's restaurant and the Duluth store, which they are very excited about. And
Love Duluth.
And like we said, it's going to be inside the Bass Pro Shop that they're building in that same not complex, but storefront area. I don't know. Words are failing me now. Just
Huge.
kind of par for the course.
It's huge.
It is extremely huge. I wonder if they're going to be by, how Bass Pro Shops always have the fake river with the trout. I wonder if it's going to be right next to that, or if it's going to be kind of more tucked away by the
they have
archery
giant
stuff.
tanks with real fish.
That's
in
what I
them.
mean. It's like a whole aquascape, forestscape
Right.
with the pond. I wonder
And a
if,
shooting range.
So will Sonder be by the indoor pond area, by the shooting / archery range, or will they be over by like the apparel?
Right, where you can get all your flannel.
But not your underwear. You got to go across the street to Duluth.
Duluth is definitely where you get your
absolutely
underwear. That's the underwear
That was
spot.
a selling point based on this episode. That was the selling point for them for picking that location.
And Brewer's pants.
Brewer's pants and boxers.
You need those
you know what?
Flex fire hose pants.
Yes.
Or the
cool,
the armachillos.
Yeah, or the bullpens.
Yeah.
Which, either way you go.
It's good.
It is very good. It is
Get you
very,
some
very
socks
good.
there too, by the way.
They talked about things that they're going to like about the new location, and even though it's not open yet, Chase said nothing matters except for we're going to have cheese curds.
Cheese curds,
So,
yeah.
I'm in. I know
A Wisconsin purveyor of cheese
Yes.
curds.
Yes, and I will kind of.
He's like, it's good to be the king.
True that.
Yeah,
True that. And I will put a slight disclaimer in this. The episode of Cincy Brewcast that we're going to cover later in the show was also talking to Sonder about this, so I may get some of my details mixed up about which podcast which was in. I'm just going to smash it all together. You know what I mean? So if so you're going to have to listen to both
Smashing.
these podcasts.
Podcasts.
Like I said, great day. It's fantastic. Let's see. This is going to be kind of what we talked about location-wise. This is going to be a location that is going to be really neat because more people can just sort of stumble upon it.
Right.
Where, like we were talking about the original location, the current main production facility, you kind of have to know where you're going to find it to get there. You don't just see it off of the side of the road, where the new location is going to be front and center, literally off of 75. So I think that's going to be absolutely fantastic for them.
Right there.
They're talking about how they talked about some of their first neighbor collaborations that they're planning at the new space, like the Holtman's Donuts, because that's right next door. And they said, we're not even going to talk to them. We're just going to go over, buy a bunch of donuts, not let them know what we're doing, throw them in the mash, and boom.
Boom.
We have a brand new donut beer.
Donut beer.
And then they don't have to pay any royalties to Holtman's or like share any of the proceeds or the profits with them. So kind of a smart business move. So Holtman's, we know you're big fans of the show. Keep an eye out for any of those Sonder people.
Also, a possible new name for the second location, Twin Bulge.
Yes, which I think is risky. I think is very risky.
Have you been to the Twin restaurant right there in that shopping center?
I have not.
The food's pretty good.
When I first saw it, again, haven't been there. When I first saw it, I was excited because I'm like, oh my God, a restaurant based off of the Twin Peaks series.
No.
It is certainly not.
No.
Based off of the TV show from the 90s, and that made me sad. No. That made me
never got into that
sad.
show. I never got into that show.
Really?
No.
It definitely is a very niche show. It's like you either like it or like Josh tried to watch a couple episodes and he was just like, what is this? Like,
Yeah,
I
never got into it.
Yeah, and then that's fine. Some of the other things that they talked about in this episode were events. Like apparently the city of Westchester is incredibly excited for Sonder to be a part of their community, which they should be. Sonder is amazing. The people are amazing. Beer is amazing. You all know this. But they are already planning some of their first kind of community events at the space. One of them is going to be
Peak Fest.
Okay, so one of the other ones besides Peak Fest, Jesus.
It's a peak party.
I don't know. One of the things I thought was interesting, and I don't know how they are going to pull this one off, but can you hit Sonder from Top Golf?
Right.
Now, so I don't know if that means that like on the top of the building, like on the roof, they're going to have like a small like fake green.
Or
that
a bullseye.
Or a bullseye. But I think
a fake
that's
green
gonna
would be
awesome.
cool too. Yeah.
They're going to have IKEA Fest.
Yes,
so they're going to shut
Fest.
down the IKEA parking lot and have like kind of a beer fest in there, and you can, they're going to have the Swedish horse meatballs brought out, and that's going to be the only thing you can eat there, and then, all kinds of Sonder beer. They're going to be bringing Bockfest outside of Over the Rhine. They're going to have a Sonder-specific Bockfest.
They're going to light up the fire pit that they don't know whether it works or not.
Mm-hmm. And you know who's going to be there poking all kinds of stuff?
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Which again, that may be part of Cincy Brewcast because...
Or Peak Fest.
They
talked about the food option.
Yes.
They are...
Yeah.
The way they discussed it is that they're not saying what the food option is going to be, other than
they're only going to have
curds.
cheese curds and pierogies.
Yeah, cheese curds and pierogies.
If you don't like those two, well, just go for the beer and go to Twin Peaks for the food.
So this location, they're going to
Chili's.
own the food option. It is
Yes.
going to be Sonder food,
Yes.
not partnering with another restaurant or kitchen or entity. It's going to be Sonder's food.
And that was pretty. And again, I don't recall if this was part of Cincy Brewcast or Sonder Stories. But,
Both.
But the reason that they are able to do that is fantastic. And I probably have this in my notes somewhere. So if I don't see it here on my notes for Sonder Stories, it's probably in Cincy Brewcast. But because they already have their beer dialed in, they no longer have to worry about the beer. And I don't want to say that as they're just dialing in and they're not paying attention to it, but they already have processes in place for the beer, so now they can actually focus on, well, what do we want to do with food? And
Right.
that food is pierogies and
Cheese
Cheese
curds.
curds.
Yeah, so I
Yes.
won't be eating there. But yes, what they're saying is when they were starting Sonder back in 2018, I think, 2018 maybe when they opened it. But long story short, they didn't want to own a restaurant. They wanted to have food, but they wanted to make sure that they could get the beer right and do right by the beer. Having the success that they've had thus far, they were confident that they could grow into this concept of,
Right.
of owning their own food.
And that touches on to other episodes of, I believe it was Cincy Brewcast, and I feel terrible. I don't recall who Gnome was talking to, but the idea of, we know that we can run a brewery, but can we also at the same time run a restaurant, I think it might have been another episode of Sonder, where he talked with Sonder, or an episode of Sonder Stories. Yes, we know how to run this type of business, but do we also want to at the same time know how to run a kitchen and a, distribution service and a this and a that and a whatever? So for Sonder, I'm just going to say 1.0. I know that the new location's not like a 2.0 thing, but for the main production facility, they already have that figured out. So now, like you said, the new location, they can actually expand upon what they own and what they're doing. And I think that that's going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And Danny did say that if you have something you want to see in the kitchen, because they are still working on the menu, they might have things nailed down and they're just not telling people. But if there's something that you want, hit them up on social media. I already gave them my suggestion.
Pho.
Ooh, that's another good one. That's not what I had. I said soft serve ice cream. There are no tap rooms that have soft serve ice cream, so that was my.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
true.
There are
No-
places that have like Gold Spoon Creameries next to Higher Gravity Summit Park. It's amazing, but it's not soft serve.
Right.
I want soft serve. Plus, when Sonder brings back their frosted root beer, they can make their own frosted root beer floats. Root beer beer.
Root beer.
Root beer. Yeah.
The blue ice cream's on tap over at
also-
Sonder right now.
Oh, if they had a soft serve machine, they could make.
They could.
They could absolutely combine the two into an amazing experience. Kind of last couple notes that I had are things that they're excited about. Danny is excited that there are going to be fewer steps in the entire new space. Jen, blinds on the windows. They already exist.
Yep.
No one's going to be blinded. Chase, pre-existing SOPs. They don't have to recreate those.
That's a very Chase thing.
It is a very Chase thing. Haley, this is something that you mentioned, the outdoor fireplace, where, beers can be poked. And Justin, more TVs for more sports, which is very on brand for Justin, I feel like.
Yep.
Yeah. And then they got into the What Are You Listening To segment. It was all over the board.
Yeah.
And we're not going to spend 37 minutes talking about it.
Nope.
Yeah. Did you have anything? This is kind of odd. I'm not sure how we did this in such a concise fashion, but
Can we make the recap of Cincy Brewcast with Sonder about the new Sonder Taphaus shorter than what we just did?
One way to find out. Do you want to spin the wheel, or do you want to just jump into Cincy Brewcast, or as I like to say, oh shit, nope, not doing it.
No, we
Not
need
doing
to,
it.
We need to take a pause.
Yes, let's take a pause, and we will make a decision on if we jump into Cincy Brewcast or if we come back to that one later. So hang with us. We'll be right back. We did it.
We did it.
We made it back. Well,
It's all wet.
you made it back. That's what she said. What's in your glass? You guys know me. Same thing in my glass, so I'm not.
I have lunch from Maine Beer Company.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Damn good beer.
Damn good.
All right. Do you want to just go ahead and stick with talking about Sonder, and as we move into the Cincinnati Brewcast?
Yeah.
Right.
Let's do it. And so, we already told you. So the
I know a lot of this. Yeah.
The gnome sat down with the crew from Sonder.
Do you think it was the same day that Sonder recorded? Like Gnome was just like in the back corner while they did their thing, and then they were done. He was like, "My turn," and then just kind of plugged his stuff up, and they're like, "All right, let's go."
I don't know.
Round two.
Maybe. Who knows?
That would be well.
Hey, y'all! Everything we said for the last 20 minutes, ditto.
Yes.
There you go.
Well, there were some new things. There were a couple things that they mentioned in Cincy Brewcast that they did not mention on their own show. So there are a couple things we can touch on, but this should be a kind of quicker episode recap.
Right.
This was only Justin, Chase, and Jen. So a smaller group. Everyone else kind of got up from the table and walked away. And Gnome's like, "Aren't you going to sit and talk with me?" And they're like,
They went to
"Nah,
Topgolf.
we're good." They went over to Topgolf to hit some balls onto the new Sonder roof. Sonder is a title sponsor for this year's Bock Fest.
Yes.
That was something new
That
in
is
this
something,
episode
yes, that they did
didn't
not
talk about.
include. Yes.
Still waiting for the Northern Bock Fest at their Westchester location to be officially announced and the dates. They can't have competing dates with the Over the Rhine Bock Fest, so we'll see when that happens.
Northern Bock Fest.
The Northern Bock Fest, yes. Let's see. Main reason for picking the space, like we said before, was easy access to donuts and underwear.
Yep.
And I mean, really, like,
Those are great reasons.
when haven't you been at work one day and you're like, "Oh, I need a new pair of pants," or "I need a new pair of boxers"? Happens all the time. Now they have no
Could have
excuse.
happened today.
It could have happened today. Things could happen.
Could happen.
Things could happen.
Could happen.
And if you're right next to a Duluth, I mean, you got your Brewers pants and
Yeah.
and your Arctic cooling boxers and
The Armachillos.
Oh, I said Armageddons, and that would have been terribly wrong. Or the bullpens.
There's some
depending
other
on who
ones
you
that are great too. Not just the Armachillos, but there's some other ones that are really fantastic.
Okay, I'm not familiar. I know that I have bought Josh a couple pairs, but I have
Engel?
never. No, my Josh.
Oh, okay.
My Josh. I'm not. No, I don't buy other people boxers. That's just weird.
You mean
This is-
didn't?
What?
But
You-
that
so
didn't
you
somebody
do?
from Sonder Stories buy somebody?
Well, you're right. I mean,
That
I
was
guess
in. Was that in
that
Sonder
was
Stories or was that in Cincy Brewcast?
That was in Cincy Brewcast
Yes.
because Gnome put up like a little video clip of that section on the YouTubes and all that. So yes,
Yes.
people at Sonder buy each other boxers.
That's right.
Cool for them.
Yeah.
I feel like guys can buy other guys boxers and it's not super weird. But if like
But there was
me,
a note with it.
there was
Was it a
it was
note
a
or a
Valentine.
poem?
Yeah, it was a poem. Whatever. I don't
That's no.
don't care.
That's totally fine.
But again, a guy to a guy, whatever, that's fine. But if like a chick buys someone that's not her significant other or like a family member boxers, that's just weird. You can't do that. You don't do that.
Throw a red flag.
Oh, absolutely.
Throw the
challenge flag out there and just
no,
be
or is
like,
it, it's a yellow flag because it's a penalty.
Oh, that's right. That would be a penalty.
It's
You're
a
right.
penalty.
You're right.
Throw the yellow flag.
Oh, good.
Should we
God.
walk around with yellow flags and red flags?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we could not just call a
Absolutely.
penalty, but you could also call a challenge. Oh, now I'm stealing from the fucking Progressive commercial. or whatever.
Well, it all depends. Can you do a redo, whether or not there's a flag? Like, can you redo whatever you're flagging?
I feel like
Not that it was a challenge flag, and you all know.
I
everyone
feel like
in
the
Cincinnati
redo flag
knows what
happened
we-
this week when I listened to Sonder Stories and the Cincy Brewcast. It's like, what am I doing? It's like I'm living in the Groundhog Day.
Well, God, you're right. It is exactly like that. There was a redo, and the results were different because.
Right.
But who's the winner here? Cincy Brewcast or Sonder Stories?
Ooh.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Ooh.
That's a good one. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
We may. So, listeners, if you know who the winner of this replay was, let us know at Truth Beer Pod everywhere. Anyway, we are going to try to keep this under the 20 minutes that we spend talking about Sonder Stories because it is a lot of the same information. This new space is going to have a more adult feel than the original location because they're not going to have like the big beer garden, a lot of outdoor space for the kids to turn around. Still family friendly, but there's just not going to be as much.
Right.
I guess open space for
Right.
families to run around with, but again, more than welcome to bring your families. we already talked a whole lot about boxers and stuff like that. So after talking about Manscaped, they talked about Twin Peaks. That's where the Twin Peaks came in. Was in Cincy Brewcast.
Twin Peaks.
And
He gave us a teaser. It's unintentional.
Say it.
He's got I don't know whether it's a blog post or what he's going to do, but Twin Peaks is technically a tap room.
True.
I mean,
it's right. It's
technically a tap room.
Yeah, it absolutely, yeah.
And he takes an appropriate amount of time in my mind to discuss how just absolutely horrid the way that they serve beer is.
Yes.
It's just
it's
can't stand it.
Right. And
I can't.
No, and you definitely listen to find out what that is. He's mentioned it in when did he talk about that before? Was it another episode like a long time ago when he first went there? I can't remember if it was that or if it was, a weekly pint, but Gnome has opinions on Twin Peaks. And he just grabs it in both hands and just bears all.
Yeah.
And that was after the Manscaped ad. So, you kind of get, a double whammy there.
I've been there a few times because back in 2019 going into 2020, some friends, co-workers of mine, we would, actually, this is funny, it would be on a Tuesday. We would leave before we started the podcast. We would leave. We'd drive one exit up 75. We'd go to Twin Peaks, have a beer, maybe an appetizer or something like that, and just to, but
wind
happy
down
hour.
after the day. Yeah, absolutely.
Friends, coworkers after work. Then the pandemic hit. Things shut down. Came back to work, and we did it a few more times.
Okay.
So I've been there a couple of times.
Yeah.
I have to say, the food I had was really good.
Okay.
It's bar food, but I was like, man, this bar food's pretty good.
Some bar food's better than other bar food. So yeah, I can 100%.
That bar food was pretty good.
All right.
Pretty damn. I also met the owner of that location and the one in Northern Kentucky. Because
that's the one that I first saw. Because I first saw Twin Peaks when I was working down in Florence, and again, wasn't sure what it was, but I was like, oh, Twin. I could tell that it was kind of like a restaurant.
I'd actually been to
place.
Twin Peaks before that because when I was in between
Peaks. Sorry.
I went from one job to a new job, and then from that job I went to another job, and there was a training in Dallas.
Okay.
And I went to the training in Dallas, and there was one not far, so we got the hotel bus to take us there to eat.
Okay.
And so that's the first time I had ever experienced it, and then it came up here.
I still think it would be better if it was based off of the TV show and not off of mountains.
Wilderness?
Yeah.
The mountains?
Yeah, mountains. And flannel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rangers.
So
they should all be next to Bass Pro Shops.
It's good. This
Come
one's
on.
going to be.
No, yeah, that's true.
And Duluth.
Which
is more clothing than the dress code
but you know what?
of employees servers at Twin Peaks.
Yes. Anyway.
And apparently tattoos are also part of the...
Is it a requirement or is it just not discouraged?
I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's not a requirement, but it seems like, wow, it's probably required.
Feels like a requirement?
Yeah.
Can they be temporary?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't pay that much attention. I felt like a very old man walking in there. Like, why is everybody younger than my daughter? Like, what is happening here?
Awkward.
Yeah, it's totally awkward. Just give me the beer. With my ice chips.
With your ice chips, yes.
The hell? What the F? What other notes do we have?
Yeah, I know. I was going to say we're going to be so far off topic with this. They 100% buy into and believe the phrase, the rising tides raises all ships.
Yeah, rising ships raise all tides.
No, rising tides raises all ships. That is 100% what the quote is. Fight me on it.
No,
fight me and Danny on it.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
And we 100% need the video footage of the hand motions that they were talking about.
Right.
So, no, maybe as a Patreon episode or like little bonus clip if you don't want to put it on YouTube or Facebook or anything. But
A little bonus.
they talked about it enough. I need to see that, even though I know that as soon as I see it, I'll be like, I did not need to see that. Right. I regret my decisions. But as it stands right now, you guys talked about it enough that someone needs to see that footage besides the gnome. And that's my thought on that.
Yeah, and we're happy to fall on the sword for you guys
Yes.
for that.
Oh, absolutely. So. We will recap it. We will let you know. Was it as good as how they were kind of describing as I'm making my own hand motions, which is terrible? They talked a little bit about other things, sort of Sonder focus. They're going to have more of a focus going forward on their barrel program and not so much on sours just because of,
Right, the clean
I don't want to call
program.
it contamination, but I guess it is technically a contamination risk when you do sours in.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if that was the
It's
proper
a
term.
huge risk.
I just didn't know if if contamination was the proper term or if there was another term that like fit better for the brewing situation.
It's a huge risk.
Sours aren't off the books entirely, but it's definitely not going to be something that they're going to be looking at as closely or readily as they used to. Let's see. What are some of the other things that worry them?
Things that make you go,
I love it. We need a segment that uses that clip. It's an intro as Marco almost spits out his lunch. Things that make them go, are gaps in craft beer consumption, such as non-alcoholic options, seltzers, that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. So basically what I heard from that is keep an eye out for Sonder's NA Fest, which is going to happen shortly after Sonder's Bock Fest. Like the Northern Bock Fest, because they're
not going to make any of it.
No, they're just going to bring it in. It's fine. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Let's see. Justin and Sonder as a whole appreciate what Gnome does for Cincy beer, and I love that Justin wanted to make that like a full statement on the show. We all do. I think that I would hope that I don't want to speak for everyone. But
I do. We do.
Yeah, we absolutely do. But I would hope that anyone that listens to Cincy Brewcast regularly appreciates the passion that Gnome has for Cincinnati craft beer and just everything that he puts into that. Life, limb, his family, like all of that is on the back burner when it comes to Cincinnati craft beer. And you can finally find out who Gnome admits as to having the best beer in Cincinnati. And that's where they closed up the episode.
There you go.
So definitely listen to both of these episodes, Sonder Stories and Cincy Brewcast, because there are pieces that they don't cover in both of them, and they are both amazing conversations. They are so much fun to listen to. Or watch the Sonder Stories episode, watch the clips of the Cincy Brewcast episode, and hopefully we'll get some hand motion videos.
There you go.
Soon, yeah. What else did you have, Marco?
Nothing. Our notes match exactly.
Hell yeah. Look at that. Look at us.
Look at that.
Look at us.
Would you look at that?
Do you want to spin the wheel, or do you want to just pick a random craft parenting pod, shift beers, or beerist?
No, we're going to spin the wheel.
All right, we can do that. You ready? Your shoulder good? I mean, it's kind of warmed up from the first one. So.
Yeah, it's in shape.
Kind of a smaller wheel with, just a couple only 5 podcasts versus like a bazillion Cincinnati breweries and tap rooms.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, Cincinnati Parenting Podcast. That's not the name of this at all.
Then we need to drink.
Cheers, because I don't know what I'm doing today.
The Cincinnati Craft Parenting Podcast.
Episode 88.5, Day Drinking, which they were definitely drinking during this episode, but it wasn't all about drinking.
No, they covered a lot about
game day,
food.
Food, yes.
Foods.
Lots.
You like a lot
of
of foods, and apparently there's these chili muffins.
Yeah, what the F?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Actually, I don't. They might make mention of this in the podcast. That I'm not the biggest fan of this hometown favorite food.
There was definitely. There was definitely some opinions on Cincinnati chili, and Joe, you're wrong. That's all I'm saying. And also, freaking Joe, how do you not know who Ken Anderson is?
Yeah, that was a takeaway right there.
They were drinking. So they drank 3 during the course of the show. They drank 3 Cincinnati beers. It was before the the Kansas City Bengals game, which we're
I'm
not going
familiar
to
with.
talk about it.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about it.
Anyway. But they drank from 16 Lots Kenny's Day Drinking Lager, Westside Brewing's Common Ale, and Brink's Jackpot Joey Game Day Ale. And Joe was just like, yeah, it's the Kenny's Day Drinking Lager. It's kind of a collaboration with the Ken Anderson Foundation, and I don't really know who that is. And I hit pause. I stood up.
Who that is?
And went, what? How do you not know? And he said in the podcast, I guess that must have been before my time. Doesn't matter. He's like a legacy in Cincinnati. How have you never heard his name before? So, Joe.
Yeah.
You are so lucky to have Caroline Wikipediaing this stuff for you.
It's like the La Rosa's family, Jeff Ruby, and Ken Anderson.
Yeah. So, Joe, needless to say, when you said you didn't know who Ken Anderson was, I was
Disappointed!
Yeah.
Joe, you got the button. It
Yeah.
takes a lot for me to give the button.
Yep.
This was one of those times. Let's see. They talked about for some reason, they talked about going grocery shopping during part of their game day, rituals and all that. And
They're a parenting podcast, so
true,
I mean that's
true. They
you go to the grocery.
They almost had Breadgate when they went to Kroger. They almost had a whole situation.
No,
of,
but they talked a lot
duplicate-
about some crackers.
Yes, they did. Lots
They
of
just discussed a lot of cracker talk. They could
Yes.
have actually made that like a segment. They could have stopped, had some imaging and some sounders, and then we're going into cracker talk. Like they had to break it down like they had to break it down like Dan Orlovsky does with his football videos. Like they had to break down crackers
aisle by aisle, our aisle by aisle recap of our grocery trip. I will say that this episode,
Sign me up for that.
You know what? Some people need to know these things, Marco. They are giving people what they want. And it's crackers and bread. And
I think some of it is a little bit like the iPad. Like you didn't know you needed it until it was around, until it was available. And now you're like, oh, I needed to hear them and their aisle by aisle cracker talk.
And you had no idea, right? Exactly. I mean, you never know.
You never know.
Excellent. I would absolutely win a Google off with Caroline. So.
They know that.
Just saying.
They know.
Yeah.
They did admit
know
to that, but they know that.
Yeah. I don't know what my words
and if
per
they,
minute
and
are.
if they want to challenge that, they know where we're at.
It's true. We would just need to figure out: are we doing it on like phone? Are we doing it on some type of like computer?
Doesn't matter.
I'm not good with typing on my phone. You've seen my texts; they're almost illegible 90% of the time.
You have texted me. I don't
know what you
view
said.
your texts. Okay. Like I've seen what you text me. That's it.
So that could change the game because if Caroline is all about doing this on location where we're both using our phones, I'm fucked. Like
like those championships of texting. Have you seen those? Like with the people like
ridiculous, and I'm just like, what? Although I don't know if they do those anymore because that was a thing when the texting was all on like the number pad. Now that we have like full keyboards, I don't know.
I think there is. There is.
Okay.
And there's that whole like how you sweep and write name.
Yeah. That's what I do. I do this.
You do the sweeping,
which is probably why my text messages make no sense whatsoever when I try to send them. Let's see, what else did we have on this? Some of their game day snacks that they mentioned are cauliflower
wings,
which aren't wings. And Joe even said that.
Oh, Joe got pissed.
He got mad. And
he got super mad. Like I don't know if I've ever seen Joe that angry, and or heard Joe that angry. He was like super pissed.
He was fired up about cauliflower wings.
Also,
which I agree. It's like, call them like buffalo cauliflower bites. They're not fucking wings.
Wow.
They're not wings.
Wow.
I stand in solidarity with Joe on this one. 100%.
Wow.
Caroline also said that she makes, or she used to make something called angry mac and cheese, which I'm all in for. I know that you kind of can't be unless she somehow finds a non-cheese version
don't
of
do
mac.
that.
That would just be
Don't
spicy
do
noodles.
That.
Don't do that.
Don't do
What?
that.
Don't do that. Come on.
Non-dairy angry mac and cheese. Just make your angry mac and cheese, and then
just be done with it.
Yeah, I'll just
all right, that's fair.
watch you guys eat angry mac and cheese. This part of the podcast is also pertinent to Craft Parenting Pod, which is where we just take about 5 seconds and curse.
Yes.
So, fuck.
100% shit.
Balls.
Damn.
Crap.
Piss. I think we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
I think we're good. I only had one other note with this episode because, again, it wasn't solely focused around drinking. They were just talking about, hey, we just opened this and this is what it tastes like while we talk about grocery shopping and game day snacks, pretty much. And it's a question, and it's being spoken into the air. I'm not asking you
Did they
directly,
make
Marco.
lasagna in a crock pot?
Yeah, there was something about lasagna.
That's
and
rough.
I'm like, Like, do you like line the sides? I wish you guys could see these hand motions that I'm making for the.
Okay, there's a whole episode where Alton Brown, who is one of my culinary favorites, made lasagna in a crock pot, and I can't tell you how much it just looked. Hit the button.
Disappointed!
Yeah, it just it. He can think he nailed it.
But we all know.
I just did.
No.
It doesn't. No. It's a no. That's a no from me, dog.
Here's a random question for you. Chicago style pizza. Chicago. Isn't that technically just lasagna?
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Holy shit!
If you think about it.
Wow.
And that is full credit to James Petrogallo from Small Town Murder and Crime and Sports. They had a whole discussion on it where they called La Rosa's pizza shit, and then they talked about Chicago style pizza and said it's lasagna. And I'm like, you know what? I can't say they're wrong.
Yeah. Wow.
That's my hot take. But yeah.
Wow,
anyway,
that's
back.
scorching hot.
I know. We might
Jeez.
have to discuss that over a beer when we're done with this episode because we're already going off the rails. I had one final, again, not really a comment, but more a question, not to ask you directly, but to throw out into the universe based off of this episode. Who knows more about football, Joe or Caroline?
Great question. Hit us up at
Truth Beer Pod. Let us know what you think. Hit them up at Craft Parenting Podcast on the social medias and just be like, hey, we think Joe knows more or we think Caroline knows more. Because by the end of the episode, the number of corrections...
Well, neither of them knew who Ken Anderson was.
Which, well, yeah.
Disappointed!
That's all I got to say about that. But as a whole, one person was correcting the other person more than the opposite way. So...
Oh, God. And I was doing a Julia. I was doing a Julia. I was screaming out loud. I was just like, it's Marshawn Lynch, damn it. It's Marshawn Lynch. And then Joe goes, yeah, he's the wide receiver. I'm like, Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, I was doing
We
a
don't
lot
have
of...
that sound?
No, I don't.
Oh.
I need to. I'll get that for next time.
It's not in your phone bank or whatever?
No, it's not. I'd have to, really look it up.
No, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That was this.
There were a lot of heavy sighs from me during several sections of this episode. So Joe and Caroline, we love you. That's all we're going to say. That's all we're going to say. We're not going to talk anymore about how we may or may not be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should we move on?
We should.
We should. Okay. Yeah.
Actually,
Well, the mood's coming
bring the mood
down.
back up. We got to especially since the house music here. Thank you to producer Matt over there.
Yeah.
With
Hell yeah. All right.
Boots and pants.
We have. So I don't know if we want to spin the wheel for this because we have Shift Beers and then the national podcast, the Beerists, or the more national than blah blah blah, whatever. We already covered
the bigger
that.
podcast,
the bigger
following, bigger podcast.
No shade to Shift Beers, but the Beerists probably has at least 5 more listeners than they
and 9 more years. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, they've been around
for a long. They've been around for
Yeah.
a whole.
Good job.
Why not?
Good job.
So do we want
Beerists.
to do the Beerists next?
Yeah.
All right, we can
Probably should get a beer for that too.
for Shift Beers, absolutely.
And the Beerists.
Oh, and the beers. All right. Well, because
this is like a 10-ounce pour or something like that.
yeah, but it's also I guess it's not that high.
It's not.
You
It's
can
just
slam that
expensive.
one down. Yeah. There's a good reason for it to be expensive, though. I'm okay with it being expensive.
Because of the
for what it
planet,
is.
or because it tastes so good.
Yes.
So if it wasn't so environmentally friendly, but it still tastes that good, is that still okay? Yes.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
Yes. Yes, it is. I had to think about the phrasing there. I'm like, wait, what words did you say in what order? But yes. All right, so give us a minute, guys. We'll be right back, and we're going to talk about the Beerist.
And we are back, Julia.
Damn straight we are. And we both have new beers.
Yeah. We have from Sonder, William Goat,
The goat that
Bockfest.
The goat that likes to party.
That's right.
Cheers.
Right. Pretty formal, but he likes to party. Sonder, like we said in the recaps, is the
Title sponsor for Bockfest, yeah.
for Bockfest. So
Yeah.
we're gonna
Both the South and North Bockfest.
gonna rock out with our Bock out here.
All right, let's talk about the Beerists. This is episode 559, Cincinnati Natty.
So they've been at this a while, like we've said.
Yeah, just a bit. They've
Been at it a
been
bit.
around like for just slightly longer than most of these Cincinnati. Just
Right.
slightly longer than Cincy Brewcast. That's all. That's what we'll say about about the longevity of this podcast. It is kind of a new to me podcast. I've known about it for a while. I listened to like 30 bazillion other podcasts and just never did this one. So, but it looks like the pretense of the podcast is they have between 4 and 6 beers, and the group of them just share them and just kind of recap them, just talk about, review them, and what do they think about them.
The beer tasting podcast. That's what it is.
There we go. They did. They had a listener, Ryan. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know if full names are.
Shout out to Ryan.
Shout out to Ryan for sending them.
And thank you.
Yeah, for sending them 4 Cincinnati Cincinnati area beers, I will say. One of them was Beerists,
right?
Juggalotes, which
Kentucky.
Well, they will be in Cincinnati sometime soon. I haven't heard
Eventually.
much about the Cincinnati location, but Juggalotes, Urban Artifacts, The Gadget, another Cincinnati, Listerman's Chickow, because of the exclamation mark. You got to say it with emphasis.
Or emphasis.
Emphasis on the correct syllables.
Yep.
100%. And then Rheingeist Inc. This isn't going to be like a super long, in-depth recap, because all we're going to do is say they drank this and this is what they thought, which is their whole podcast.
Right.
And I liked what they said and the fun that they had doing this enough to where you should absolutely listen to this episode. I'm going to try to check out a couple other episodes, but I mean, this one was all Cincinnati based, so absolutely we'll listen to it.
So we're talking about it, and so I don't want to give any spoilers, but what I will say is that there's definitely a format to the podcast, right?
Yes,
so
agreed.
There's an opening banter. There's getting to the beers, and they do the beers one at a time, and they give their tasting notes and opinions about the beers. Mm-hmm. This is not blind, by the way.
No. They know exactly what they're drinking.
They know exactly what they're drinking. They do touch on things like canned on dates. Mm-hmm. They read some of the label art. Mm-hmm. They do all that. And then when they get to the end, once they've finished all of them, they do rate.
Yes.
But they don't use a 1 through 5, and they don't use bottle caps. It's pretty much a...
try, buy, or die.
Yes.
Which I love that. I think that's freaking fantastic.
So, and they've got levels to those.
Yep.
They'll tell you it's a high this or a low that, or it's a medium this, or whatever.
Like a high buy, absolutely they'd buy it, or a low buy. Like, if I see it, I'd probably pick it up, but it's not a sure thing. And again, go ahead.
No. It's good, but they liked all of the Cincinnati craft beers. I don't want to give too much away because they liked them in different varying ways. It's definitely worth a listen. They've been doing this, like I said, a really long time. And what's cool too is you can pick up some descriptors and tasting note descriptors from them.
Right. Which is what I really liked. They definitely knew exactly what they were tasting, what they were experiencing with these beers. It wasn't just, it tastes good and that was it. It's like they went into descriptors. They went into things like, I taste this maybe, type of bitter adjunct, extract, mouthfeel, all that kind of stuff. And some of the fun things that I thought from the different, descriptors. I'm going to say that word way too much for this. For some of them was for Beerists' Juggaloads. They loved the fact that as an oatmeal IPA, no lactose, which is in big letters on the can. So I, of course, immediately thought
Love
of you,
that.
and I'm just like, this is a Marco, or, could be a Marco beer.
Yeah.
For the Gadget, they said, this is absolutely it feels like a brunch type beer, which got to be careful with that one. And if you listen to the episode, you'll see why you have to be careful with that one.
Right.
Ink, they were expecting motor oil. Did they get motor oil? Because it's an Imperial Stout. And then what I loved was find out why they feel that Listermann's Chickow needs to be in the squash category. In beer competitions.
Yeah, they did talk about that.
Yes. It was super, super cool. I learned that nose gulps is a new phrase that
it's
can be
interesting.
used. Check out the episode for that. I think it was about a 45-minute episode, and it went by fast. It was one of those, they really rolled through, which I don't know, that made me go, how come we can't get through ours in 45 minutes? Because they tangented, went down rabbit holes, however,
Very
phrases.
good.
But man, it was cool. Like you had said earlier, find out which of these beers they felt were their try, buy, or die, and were there any Beerist MVPs, like the beer of the episode from these four? Because they talked about that a lot. Sometimes we have a beer that we feel is our 100% top pick of the day. Do any of these fit?
Well,
which was really
it's not just top pick of the day. They also nominate for top picks overall in their hierarchy.
Oh, okay.
Altogether.
Gotcha. Okay,
So
I
it's
missed
not-
that.
it's not-
Gotcha.
it's
gotcha.
not
just this episode. It's
Yeah.
out of okay.
It's
okay,
out
I
of
missed that.
everything that they drink. So
Gotcha. I misunderstood when they were talking about that.
The majority of them. Let me walk that back.
Yeah.
Listen, just listen.
Yes.
And I think if you are a fan or have had all of those beers, you may find it easy to relate how they're talking about them.
Mm-hmm. Like we said, this wasn't going to be a super long recap because all we would be saying is, here's the beer they drank and this is what they thought about it, kind of thing. So I just had one other kind of closing note, I guess, for this episode recap, and that is the new beer competition categories that they were talking about that need to be added to, to all of the beer competition. That need to be added to all of the beer competitions, GABF, FOBAB, local ones, all that. So some of the
Festival of
barrel-aged, wood and barrel-aged beers.
wood and barrel-aged
Yes.
beers. FOBAB.
You all know what I'm talking about by
You know
now
what
if you're
it is.
listening to this, and I'm
You know
just
what,
gonna.
you know what we're talking
I'm not
about.
going to continue to, embarrass myself by trying to find new pronunciations for already established phrases and words. But new beer competition categories that they think should be added, much like the squash category, are the beer pong category,
Yep.
the double imperial WTF
Yep.
category, the baby bird category.
Oh, yeah.
Which they absolutely talked about. There was the pause on that one was golden, absolutely golden.
And it is what you think.
It is 100% what you think. It's just not what you would expect.
Right.
And then the FICI, or the FICI category, the fuck it, chug it category.
Wonderful.
Pretty cool. I'd be down for seeing a winner in all of those categories.
I'd love to see
It'd be
John
fun.
Hall. John Hall be a taster for the fuck it, chug it category.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, cool. Was there anything else that you had on our recap of the Beerists?
No.
Just
No.
listen. It's awesome.
Hey, the Beerists. Why don't you follow a podcast, bud? How about give us a like and a share or some shit?
We know that you listen.
We know you listen.
So just like all of our social medias at Truth Beer Pod.
Yeah, thank
We
you.
know you're huge fans, so
Yeah.
get on that.
Yeah. We're going to tag you and all that other shit.
Hell yeah, we are. It's all about the likes and the clicks and the
Peaks.
the peaks.
Yeah.
It's all about the peaks.
Bulge.
With that, Do we need? There is Star Wars playing in the background, so if this gets taken down for any copyright stuff, you can blame producer Matt for that. Jar Jar Binks has been in our faces all night. So Jason, if you can do something about that.
Yeah, with the Jar Jar Binks.
With the Jar Jar Binks.
Just get him the fuck out of here. Jesus. Everybody hates him. It's like everybody can agree we hate Jar Jar Binks,
yes,
right?
no one in the world can agree on anything except Jar Jar Binks is awful.
Right.
Absolutely awful.
Right. You pull out, I mean, easy stuff, right?
Yeah.
Hole in the ozone layer. Everyone's going to debate it.
Exactly.
Jar Jar Binks, everyone hates him.
Yes. Skyline Gold Star. There's always going to be a debate, even though there shouldn't be.
Forever.
Jar Jar Binks, there was only one answer.
Yeah. Fuck him.
Done. Fuck him.
Thank you, Caroline.
Caroline.
Or, no, you can thank us for that.
All right. Well, do we need to take a break before we get into shift beers, or are we good to go?
Like a mental break? Like, do I need to...
I'm telling you.
Do I need to stop with the... Do I need to take a moment? Let's go shift beers.
All right. So no break needed. We're just jumping right on into shift beers.
I am worried a little bit that when we get to the end of the episode that I might need another drink, but then I just need another drink anyway. I mean, just get another drink.
It's fine. It's fine.
Because we really drink on this pod, folks.
We absolutely
do. This is for you. We do this for you. It's like we're not like those fake ass podcasts, craft beer podcasts that don't really drink. Like we do this for you.
Episode 111 of Shift Beers.
Nice.
Fat tires and fat IPAs. I was worried at the beginning of this episode because Chris wasn't there, and I'm like, oh, we're going to have an episode without Chris. And I was kind of sad. I actually have no Chris with a sad face in my notes, but luckily I got to scratch that out because Chris showed up.
That's right.
Shortly after they got started. They had a couple of phenomenal drunk line calls.
They were good.
They were very good. Our amazing friend Lee talked to them. I think it was probably New Year's Eve. It sounded like
right.
He was stumbling home.
Lee
in OTR. Lee, we love you. We miss you. We hope that everything's going well. I need to text you. I'm terrible at that, but it was awesome to hear Lee's voice in a podcast again. I do think it's hilarious that Chris is terrified to drink with Lee because Lee throws down. And it is absolutely... Are you watching Star Wars instead of paying attention to the recap?
I'm waiting for Liam Neeson to die.
But anyway, drunk call from Lee, a drunk call from Lindsay, who, dude, she is... I follow her on Instagram now because of Shift Beers, and she looks like she has the most amazing time.
Really?
All the time. Yeah, hell yeah. Her account's public. It's not like she's... If there's a private account, I don't follow because I'm like, okay, that's weird if you don't know who the hell I am. But... It's a public thing, and she looks like she's having a blast. I will,
I'm not on Instagram, so.
There was a drunk call that they couldn't identify, and then they also had a drunk call from Matt, who they met when they were in Buffalo, or at least 3 of the 4 of them were in Buffalo, which I don't know if they saw my comment. I watched, and I don't know if it's still up. A lot of times, like, Instagram stories expire after 24 hours.
Yeah.
There was a Shift Heaters episode that they put up where they were walking around Buffalo. I'm just saying, Chris, Brian, and Josh had an amazing time in Buffalo, it looks like. And
a picture of Brian's bruised ass went up on Twitter today.
Yes. You get a picture of Brian's butt. You only know it's his butt if you listen to the episode.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen that picture, you're welcome.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a bruise.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a bruise. But what's really, really cool, and I made this comment on the Shift Beers live that they had, because they talked about this. They're like, we were out just like walking around like our Airbnbs, and we ran into these other people, and it was awesome, and we ended up going back to their place and drinking, having a good time. One of the girls that they showed in the video is one of my friends, Paige. Like, I know her. She owns Beauty Boost Cincy.
Oh, you're kidding!
Cincinnati. And I'm watching that, and I saw her show up on their video, and I'm like, holy shit, that's Paige! And so I sent a message, like, commented on it, like, oh my god, you met Paige. I know who she is. She is so freaking awesome. And I don't know if they saw that. I don't know. But I messaged Paige as well about that. Like, Paige, you met my friends from, Shift Beers and the place that they don't work at. And she said back, she's like, oh my God, that's too weird, Houday, and all that. It was It was so cool seeing that
That's
this
awesome.
episode had a lot of stories about when Chris Bryan and Josh were up in Buffalo. That was like almost the whole
And
just
Kevin.
drinking segment. And Kevin, yes. Well, I mean,
He's an occasional
shift beer.
shift
yes,
beerer.
So you're right. That was unfair of me. Poor Beth had a lot of FOMO, but we love Beth.
I did too.
She doesn't need to. Yeah,
I mean, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but I was only a few hours away from actually going on that trip.
That would have been so awesome. That would have been so freaking awesome. But yeah, so they met. And again, that's just like that weird, it's a huge world, but it's such a small world sometimes that they were just randomly walking around a street in Buffalo, New York, or somewhere near Buffalo, New York. They happened to be doing like a video at that time and showed someone that I know who,
It's so awesome.
so crazy. So absolutely crazy. So that was the Shift Heaters segment of the podcast.
Eaters. I love it. I love it.
Oh my God, that was a thing. That was absolutely a thing. Then they started talking about some of the beers that they brought, which was kind of the meat of the episode: Fat Tires and Fat IPAs. The new Fat Tire,
Sucks.
3/4 of them liked it. I haven't had it yet, and I'll be honest, it has been so long since I have had I'll say original Fat Tire.
Isn't it?
But it's not even the
totally
same category.
Changed
Yes,
it.
they changed
totally
everything.
changed it. It's not an amber ale. It's totally something different.
Yeah.
It's so nondescript. It is so just. It is so not.
It's not Fat Tire anymore.
Well,
just because it has the name doesn't mean
it's not Fat Tire
it.
anymore, and it's just so plain. It's just not.
Well,
it's not great.
But according to Chris, he can't tell the difference between Fat Tire and Truth.
It was 1 a.m.
Isn't
when
it
I
all-
listened to the podcast, Julia. This morning, by the way. I'd had a few beers already. I've had beers.
So your notes are a little.
No, they look exactly like
unlegible.
your notes.
Well, but you can't read them as clearly.
No,
apparently.
you can't. No,
yes,
absolutely
yes.
not. Absolutely not.
So yeah, they opened up, the new Fat Tire, and they gave their opinions on it. Most of them.
My
liked
opinion
it.
is lame.
I need to try it still. I need to try the new Fat Tire.
Lame.
But like I said, I haven't had a Fat Tire in
Doesn't
a
matter.
very
It's not the
long
same
time.
thing.
But I haven't had it in so well. Yeah, you're right though. If it's completely different style,
completely different. It doesn't
everything.
matter.
Okay, that's fair.
You'd be
That's
having
fair.
Fat Tire for the first time. That's what you're doing when you have it next.
Okay. All right. Well,
It's lame.
Then there we go. There we go. Some of
You
the
know why
other
it's not here at Higher Gravity Summit Park?
Fat Tire?
Because it's lame.
Because it's not worthy of their shelf space.
No, hell no.
Hell, hey, that's fine.
Fucking
That's
lame.
fine. I mean, Higher Gravity only has quality stuff on their shelves, except for, that Brewdog shit. But,
Yeah.
if it sells, I understand. You're a business. You have to turn a profit. But, I just don't buy it. That's fine. Anyway, back to Shift Beers. Some of the other Buffalo stories that you got in this episode, which are all absolutely amazing. Porta Potty line beers and Porta Potty Jello shot.
Yes.
That was interesting.
Yes.
Astra showing up everywhere.
Everywhere.
And the table that Chris left. That he
He's
just
like-
left.
He's like, someone needs to dive through a table. Hey, take mine. And
And then he just
it's
leaves it there.
yeah, because what good
Amazing.
is it after that?
That's true. You're not wrong. Not wrong at all.
I had this perfectly good table, and now
It's not.
It's not. So what do you do?
I'm not
I
bringing
just
it.
leave
Just
it.
leave it. He'll leave it.
Just leave it.
This episode gave you tips on how to get into a fight with Josh, which I didn't really think was possible,
Yeah.
but apparently it is.
Well,
and
but also
this
what
gives you,
happens
a
is-
step by step. Yeah.
Also, what happens is Josh, when he's drunk, just asks everyone if they need a hug.
It's true, which is exactly why you need a step-by-step, instructional pamphlet of how to get into a fight with Josh.
Hey, bruh.
Yeah, it's like,
Just want to tell you, you are special. Would you like a hug?
yeah, 100%. And I mean, who wouldn't want a hug from Josh? Well, okay, let me rephrase that. Who in a drunken stupor wouldn't want a hug from drunken Josh?
Yeah.
There we go. Let's see. Kind of they got into, I don't want to call it the meat of the show because a lot of the show was about fat
meat.
tire, but then they talked about there really wasn't a lot of meat talk.
No, there wasn't a lot of meat talk.
Other than Brian's ass, but
Right.
That's
Brian's ass.
That's chunky. They opened up a fat hads.
Yeah.
It's getting better and better.
Fat hads.
They opened up a Fat Head Alpha Ambush, which you've had before.
I have.
Josh has had before.
I have.
And that led to the first of multiple Brian the Brewer Guy segments.
That's right.
Which was super cool to have. We haven't had one of those in quite a while.
Beer.
We did not plan that.
We didn't.
I love it so much, Marco. You are the best. Oh my God! They went down the nostalgia train for
the nostalgia train.
Entire second half of the episode, they talked about all the things that they experienced going back to like the beginning of time. They were talking about rollerblades, video games, the Louisiana Purchase, the Riven and Mist, and just holy.
They did. Lewis and Clark.
I mean, I think Chris was on the trail with them. He was saying some of the.
Well, they were
stories
exploring his crack.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it goes all the way up.
It's all the way up.
All the way up.
Big crack.
As I already said, the bonus beer got another Brian the Brewer Guy segment, so multiple of those, which was freaking awesome. And then you can listen to them have the Battle of the Bitters.
Yeah.
Which could be a new segment on their show, really. I mean, it sounded like they all had very strong opinions on the best bitter and who can name more bitters.
Right.
And why do you need such ginormous labels on your bitters? And what's the history of the bitters, which I think Brian was there for, when they were talking about the nostalgia stuff. It's like, well, I was there when they first bottled and made the labels, and it was a fun episode. They almost could have done a full episode just on Buffalo, but then that would have left Beth out, which would not have been fair. Because it's always
not good.
So crazy awesome to hear, Beth's take on just life, on just everything. She is, as we've said multiple times, the best part of Ship Beers.
Beth could start her own podcast and just call it Beth.
She
much
could.
like Beth is like the Oprah of Cincinnati craft beer. She could be on her own and just be successful and uber successful. Let's go have a tequila. Let's go have a tequila. Fuck it.
Oh my God. Tequila Tuesday. Was there anything else before we get to the burp count that you wanted to say about episode 111 of Shift Beers?
No.
Oh.
Was that Liam Neeson? Oh,
it was. It was. I mean, he's right.
Oh, he's right over there.
All right. In episode 111 of Shift Beers, Fat Tires and Fat IPAs, there was a total of 53 burps.
Ooh.
Which is 106 ounces.
Hey, y'all.
Which compresses down to 6.625 pints of your favorite beverage.
All right. Okay.
So, I mean, you're doing pretty good. This was
about an hour.
Yeah, just over an hour long episode.
Yeah.
So, that's what, a little over a beer every 10 minutes?
Pretty good.
Pretty daggone good.
It's pretty good.
All right. Well, with that being said, that's all the podcasts that we have to recap this week. Again, we do know that there was an episode, a high-grain episode of What You Into that came out this week. It just, timing-wise, life-wise, all that. So
that.
We'll cover that episode next week along with
Be ready
what I'm
for
assuming is
2.
week 5.
If you listen to this pod and you like what they do over at What You Into, which I hope you do.
Oh, you better.
Just
you better like it.
Not only listen to the one that came out last week, listen to the one that's coming out this week, and then we're going to talk about both of those.
Hell yeah.
And then we've got a live show coming up of What You Into.
February 9th at
February
High Grain.
9th at High Grain. And as this posts, it's less than a week away.
True.
Because this will post on Friday. The live pod will be Thursday
yes.
at High Grain.
Yep. Yep. All right. With that being said, thank you all so much for listening to our babbling about the Cincinnati Craft Beer podcast that we listen to, and some non-Cincinnati Craft Beer podcasts that talk about Cincinnati craft beer. We absolutely love doing this. We love sharing our thoughts and opinions and jokes with you guys. If you like that and you would like to support our podcast, you can do that one of several ways. You can subscribe, follow, leave a 5-star review, talk about us with your friends, your family, your dogs, your dog walkers, your cat sitters, your litter box scoopers, all of the people that are in your life. Follow us on social media. We are at Truth Beer Pod everywhere. You can email us, truthbeerpod@gmail.com. And if you go to truthbeerpod.com, the website, there are links to our social media in addition to a one-time donation link if you'd like to throw us a couple bucks to help us to continue to be able to buy beer and do other things related to paying for this podcast, because it is not free. Or subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/truthbeerpod. We're putting up some exclusive content, some videos. And speaking of videos, we're still trying to figure out Facebook Live. It'll happen eventually.
Yeah.
Again, I think we're one cable away. I think we just had the wrong cable or something.
Yeah.
We are working on that for you guys. But keep
Also-
following us and
Also, something I'm going to add
Yeah.
is a very short segment where we do shameless plugs.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm going to do is, hey, shout out to all the HVAC repair people out there and people who own their own HVAC repair companies. Would truly appreciate what you do and listen to Truth Beer Pod. And if you have an HVAC business out there that you would like for us to promote, let us know. And we would love to shamelessly plug your business. And then by shamelessly mean if we ever need HVAC repair, we'd like to call on you. So anyways, shout out to all the Cincinnati-based HVAC repair companies and people who love craft beer. So
there we go.
How about that?
With that being said, Marco, what are you going to be doing next Tuesday?
Julia, Lord willing, I will be here next Tuesday talking about Cincinnati Craft Beer Podcast with you.
Cheers. See you next week.